And now we're going to continue our studies in the gradient tool. So let's go ahead and start here back into the splash screen or the start screen. And let's go ahead and click on create new. And let's go ahead and choose another canvas, about 1000 by 1000 pixels. Resolution is 72. Give it a white background. Press create. There it is. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is turn this canvas into red. Now there's a couple of ways you can do that, but let's go ahead and do the first way. Let's click on the layers palette, and what I want to do is add another layer on top of the background, which is white. So what I can, yes, for the most part, paint this canvas blue if I wanted to. I can just take the paint bucket tool and spill it in there, but I like to do it the more professional way. So let's go into layer, new, and then layer again. So once again, I'm going to move up to layer, new, and then layer again. And now I'm going to go ahead and get this dialog box. I'm going to call it red because that's the color that I'd like to use. There it is right there. Okay, so we got background white, and now we're going to paint this layer red. And the way to do that is pretty obvious. First of all, I'm going to go to the gradient tool, and if you're already at the paint bucket tool, that's good because that's where we need to be. So click on the paint bucket tool, and there's a foreground tool. So click on that. Let's choose a nice red. I guess up here is good. And let's go ahead and paint it in there. Notice everything turns red. All right, we got our red. Now what we're going to do is create a gradient blue to go over the red. Okay, let's try that. So to do that, I'm going to create yet another layer. Okay, so I'm going to go up here, File, Layer, New, Layer. Okay, this time I'm going to call it Blue. And there we go. And so what I want to do now is go ahead and click on the foreground tool, click on blue, and there we go. Okay, so now I'm going to return back to the gradient tool. There we have it. And automatically you'll notice on the very top, now this is not something that you may see something completely different. It all depends on exactly which stage you left the gradient tool on. And so what I'm going to do is point out the fact that this is, if you click on the gradient bar right here, so if you click on the basics tab, you'll notice that by default usually it goes to the first tab, which is the foreground to background icon. And when you first click on the gradient tool, it does by default select a blend from the foreground to the background. But the second icon here, it goes from the foreground to transparent, just as it's saying right there, foreground to transparent. And at that point, I can now control, since I'm here at the gradient editor, I can control how much blue and how much transparent. So I can click right here in the stop. Here is the color stop, and you'll notice that's where this blue diamond really is handy. And I can move it up a little bit, okay, or I can move it back a little bit. And as you can see right now, oops, I can click on more. Oops, I made the mistake there. Let me go ahead and press cancel and bring it down. Okay, so if I click here and then I click on the diamond, okay, you'll see that you can kind of control the amount of blue there is. But I'm going to go ahead and press OK. And now, if I drag the icon or the gradient cursor all the way down, okay, there it is right there. It starts up with blue, ends up with a little purple, and then goes into red. So you see that the blue and the red kind of mix up, making that purple that we all know. Alrighty, very good. Now, to undo any kind of gradient right here, I'm going to have to refer to the history palette. So I'll click on history, and then I'll go back up one before that I created that gradient. So what if I want a specific blue, not just this kind of blue? Well, obviously I can go ahead and change the blue on the foreground color. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that, and I'm going to go ahead, this time I'll turn it into a green. There we go. So Now I just kind of drag down. There it is. It turns from green to another color back into red.